What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Halfway through the week, making the turn already on this work week here. What up? How you doing? Appreciate you tuning in if you're already up and at it on this October 23rd. DK shows up on the air and rolling on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also, stream it up online at sportstalk1051.com, your smart devices, smart speakers. Download the app, take it on the go. Video streams, you know the drill, already rolling up on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to that YouTube channel over there. What do we got on a good old game plan for us this morning? Well, if you're just waking up, there was a trade in the NFL here just a few minutes ago. DeAndre Hopkins being traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a fifth-round pick that could turn into a fourth-round pick. So, Chiefs, one of the teams out there that has been dealing with some injuries to the wide receiver group, and they acquired the veteran DeAndre Hopkins from the Titans. So, we've seen Devontae Adams, we've seen Amari Cooper, and now we've seen DeAndre Hopkins all being moved, wide receivers being moved before the deadline coming up at the beginning of November. And now there's reports that Cooper Kupp could be on the trading block. Rams looking for a second round pick. So don't think Green Bay is looking for a wide receiver at this point in time, but I don't know what if Green Bay had a need that you would like to see them address by the trade deadline, what would that position? I'm throwing stuff all around here. What would that position, or what would that player be? Let's be realistic with it too. Okay, let's be a little bit realistic with this. But if there was a position that you would like to see maybe Green Bay address before the trade deadline, and thing is too with the NFL, it's not that long ago, trade deadlines weren't a thing. There weren't a whole lot of trades to begin with. And whenever it did happen, it was kind of a little bit like, wow, big news, because it was so rare. Like it barely even happened. And now the last couple years, last few years here, it's changed here a little bit. So, but yeah, what position would you like to see Green Bay acquire at this point in time? So think about it for a little bit. We'll hit it up a little bit later on, but hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Tip-off begins tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks. Season officially begins with the Bucks taking on the 76ers. And the three players that have been kind of talked about regularly with injuries, not expected to play, won't be played tonight. Chris Middleton, not playing. Paul George, not playing. Joel Embiid, not playing for the 76ers. So those guys not even playing in the first game of the season. Lo and behold there. So, but Giannis still playing. Dame is still playing as far as I know. But there was Shams. So Shams is the new Adrian Wojnarowski from he's over at ESPN now, NBA insider, and he was on ESPN the other day, and Giannis again was a topic of conversation, and it was about how teams are eyeing up or paying attention to Giannis and the Bucks this season, because again it surrounds the conspiracy theory, the thought that could he be on the move? Could he be available? So let me play a clip here. This was on First Take from ESPN yesterday. But again, it's the same story about Giannis potentially out in Milwaukee. And this is more from the other teams in the league. But I'll play the clip here, and I want to talk about this coming up a little bit later on. I got a question I want to throw out here, but first of all, here's the clip, audio courtesy from First Take yesterday morning. So there you go. There's a little bit the other that was Shams and Brian Windhorst from ESPN saying it's the other teams in the league that are going to be paying attention to the Bucks and Giannis this season to see how good the Bucks are, and potentially if they aren't good, if they don't hit those expectations, could Giannis be available? So for a tradition unlike any other to begin an NBA season, if we believe all this, reports are that, or the talk, I should say reports, but the talking is out there is that could Giannis potentially be on a different team again? My question is, I mean, at what point are we tired of it? Here's my thing with this whole thing. The whole narrative there was about, where yes, Giannis did say Milwaukee, I want to see if they're committed to winning championships. I'm committed to winning championships. I want to see if Milwaukee's committed to winning championships. What has Milwaukee done? What has the Bucks done to this point to show that they are not committed to winning or committed to doing what Giannis wants the team doing? I mean, every move that has been made for the Bucks in the last couple of years has been made with Giannis at the forefront. You keep his buddy Chris Middleton around. A lot of people, a lot of fans don't want Chris Middleton around. When he's healthy, he's a good player, but there's a reason why he's still there too. He's like best friends with Giannis. Don't believe me? Chris Middleton was Giannis's best man at his wedding this year. Okay? You keep Chris Middleton around, you're keeping Giannis happy. You acquired Damian Lillard. Every move has been made to show Giannis that they're committed to him, that they're willing to do almost whatever he wants, and committed to it. So, at what point does that narrative go away? It's frustrating. It's frustrating. And there was another talk a little bit later on. It says, "Are we sure Giannis doesn't regret playing his entire career in Milwaukee?" I'm hearing he says he wishes he played in Miami or Vegas after the expansion. That's according to Brian Windhorst over there. And I just, what? How many? How many more times do we have to go through this thing? And I don't know if Giannis is going to play his whole entire career with the Bucks. But for crying out loud, the narrative is almost like the Bucks aren't doing enough for Giannis. The Bucks aren't doing this for Giannis. But they have done every single thing to make him happy, to do what he wants them to do. They have been doing it. I mean, for crying out loud. It was just a couple days ago. There's this report that the Bucks were, Marjan Beauchamp, going to trade Marjan Beauchamp, one of their former first round draft picks. Okay. Going to trade him so they could keep a roster spot open for Giannis's brother, Thanasis, who can't even play this year, or at least right now because he tore his Achilles, but they want to bring him in so he can still be in the locker room because he's well respected, he's well liked, and of course, he's Giannis's brother. At what point are these talking heads, these national media, just gonna let this go and see what happens? Sure, I'm sure there are teams, a lot of teams in the league monitoring this. They would love to have Giannis on their team. Who wouldn't love to have Giannis on their team? But that's the story from opening night from the first team is like, oh, we'll see how the Bucks do this year because if not, Bucks didn't do a good enough job. They've been doing everything to pacify Giannis. What time does it? It was just, it's little grind my gears Wednesday, I guess, at this point. But with that being said, with the Bucks opening up this season tonight, taking on the 76ers, what are your predictions for this Bucks season? What are your NBA predictions for this season? It opened up last night. T-Wolves fall into the Lakers. Thanks in part to Anthony Davis kind of going off in the second half there. But all right, we got the whole Bronny and LeBron thing over with. They got to play on the court together and that, so we can move on from that. But the Lakers defeating the T-Wolves and the Celtics opening up their title defense, the W over the Knicks last night. So got Bucks tipping off tonight. Send me your predictions. Send me your picks for this Bucks season. How well do you think they'll do? How far? Eastern Conference Finals, playoffs, out in the first round, all that stuff. What else are we gonna have on the docket here too? We'll throw some green and gold chat into this. Packers will return to practice later on today, so we'll see how maybe like Quay Walker, who left the game early due to a concussion. It was kind of a scary one there too. On Sunday, excuse me. I'm getting my days mixed up being out on Monday. But leaving the game early on Sunday due to a concussion. We'll see how far he's maybe advanced through the concussion protocol. But nonetheless, the Packers will return to practice today. And as I said a few minutes ago, too, there was a position or a player. Let's try to be specific. Let's try to name a player, but a little realistic. But what's a player maybe if Green Bay were to make a move? I don't think they're going to. And I think a lot of people probably assume they're not going to. But if they're going to, what would be a player that you'd like to see Green Bay make? Also, it's a midweek adjustment here on this Wednesday morning. The past few days, if there was something that if you were like the general manager, and this kind of feeds into the Packers trade question here, but if there was something you could do, change, alter, adjust for your favorite team or any team or any sport out there, what would it be for this week? Yeah, hit me up with those texts and such. And I think we'll do a little business of sports coming up just past 8:00 here this morning. Let's get things rolling here, though. All right. So, what else is on your mind? You can let me know. Hit me up with a text or comment on the social medias on X at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports. Let's take our first break and then we'll get the leadoff going here this morning. Already got a few texts to get to here. Thanks for that. Keep chiming in. All right, we'll get things rolling and a humming here. We'll throw it in a mixture of little hoops and a little Packers talk here because that's where we've got our messages coming too already. So keep them coming. Okay. Bucks opening up their season tonight. Predictions for the season. Hit me up. Feel great this season with our good friends from Hy-Vee. Whatever items you need to make your tailgate party stand out from the competition, Hy-Vee's got you covered. From some damn good burgers to some man cave lights, snacks, or even some apparel to represent your favorite teams, all the way down to the high school and up to the pro levels over there. Hy-Vee has you covered. Tailgate this season with Hy-Vee. And also, just a quick note for Hy-Vee too. This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They've got their trick or treat event at Hy-Vee. You can trick or treat around the store with the kiddos, cookie decorating, face painting, tattoos, paint a pumpkin, craft, and vendors also going to be going on. So that's this Saturday, October 26th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Hy-Vee trick or treat event. All right, let's get things going here this morning. A quick look at the texting line. Here we got a couple over here for our midweek adjustments as we are seeing some trades, mostly wide receivers getting moved around in the NFL right now. But in case you're just joining us and you're just waking up, if you got DeAndre Hopkins on your fantasy football team, maybe a little bit more excited about what he could do for your team this year. He was acquired by the Kansas City Chiefs, according to reports here this morning. So that's another wide receiver on the move after last week, Devontae getting traded and Amari Cooper getting traded to the Buffalo Bills. So it's AFC teams that are making the moves to acquire some new wide receivers. The NFL trade deadline coming up in just a couple of weeks here, November 5th, so just under 2 weeks. November 5th is the trade deadline. Already seeing teams making some moves, though. So, if you were the if you're a Packers fan, if there was a move, if there was a trade, being a realistic one too, what would be the player that you would like to see Green Bay try to acquire before the deadline? Now, I don't think Green Bay is going to make any moves. I know never say never at this point in time, but I'd be mildly surprised. Now, when I'm talking about moves, I'm talking about like, okay, you're acquiring a starter and such. But I'd be surprised if they did. If there was a position that I would like to see Green Bay go after, it'd be pass rusher, like Jeremy, who texted in a little bit earlier, saying, "What I want to see Green Bay go get is another pass rusher. Would love Myles Garrett. I love Myles Garrett too, but that's not realistic. Someone who might be more realistic is on the same team, Zadarius Smith. Bring back the Smith brothers and see what can happen." I would agree with you. I would agree with you, Jeremy. I would look at a pass rusher. If there was a position that I'd like to see Green Bay try to address before the trade deadline. I know Max Crosby's name is being thrown out there as a trade deadline candidate as well. I know Myles Garrett was mentioned that teams were inquiring about him and such. So, and then on the flip side for the Packers, Preston Smith's name has been apparently rumored out there that teams have been inquiring about Preston Smith at this point in time. So, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. You know, Rashawn Gary having himself a really good game against the Houston Texans, but a lot probably left to be desired from Van Ness and Preston Smith. Now, I don't think Green Bay is going to be moving on from Van Ness anytime soon, but could they potentially maybe move on from a guy like Preston Smith? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I know they like, is he is the oldest guy on this team, which still that's not that old. But no, in terms of how they like him in the locker room and his veteran leadership and such. So I don't know if they'd be interested in that. But I think at this point, 7 games into the season, the one area of improvement maybe we'd like to see is just maybe a little bit of the pass rush. But again, I think what Jeff Halfley has done with this defense has been very good in terms of coming up with different game plans and schemes week in and week out. We know there's probably not going to be, a lot of sacks racked up against guys like Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts and, Anthony Richardson at that point. So they've done a good job with that. But, to have a formidable pass rushing duo, that'd be kind of, I think that would be maybe the one improvement I would like to see get acquired here for the Packers. Other than that, wide receivers have been the talk. Cooper Kupp, could he be traded? No, that's Green Bay. No. There's one weird one out there, and I'm really okay. I want to hear from if we've got some Vikings fans listening this morning. Now, this just might be blowing smoke up, you know what? But there was something out there that Matthew Stafford could be a trade target to the Vikings. Where the I heard it. I saw it on social media yesterday, and I'm like, okay, no, that's fake. Then I know Megan Perloff just mentioned it on their program before we came up. I'm like, how in the world does that even make sense? To acquire I mean, all this talk about Sam Darnold being an MVP candidate, he's been having a good season, a really good season. But now you got Matthew Stafford to the Vikings talk out there. I mean, I don't know where that came up. I don't know if that's just made up. Here's the thing that just kind of bugs me about a lot of this stuff, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. When it comes to these rumors out there, it gets really annoying to a certain degree because so much of it is generated by agents, or so much of it is generated by other teams just to start a rumor. Andrew Brandt has mentioned this a few times, former Packers executive. He's mentioned this a few times that teams would ask him, hey, can we mention that you guys are available and so and so, or an agent would ask him, hey, can we mention that you guys are available and so and so? And Andrew said if that's gonna make teams, pay more or have to trade more for your client, go ahead. I mean, it's a game within a game at this point. And that's what really kind of just like I kind of roll my eyes about after we get to these. And this is what was kind of happening this morning after DeAndre Hopkins. So after the DeAndre Hopkins, the Chiefs thing was reported out there, then you had all these quote unquote insiders saying, yeah, this was actually the deal that's been working in place for the last couple days and such. And it's like, well, then why didn't you say it? It's because you didn't know. Now you know. But you didn't know at that time. You weren't holding on to it. Come on, let's be real. All this stuff is driven by agents and opposing teams and all that sort of stuff just to throw rumors out there. So that's where that whole Matthew Stafford one, if I don't know if some blogger came up with that rumor, report, whatever the heck we want to call it, it just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, okay, yeah. But unless I'm wrong, I mean, unless that's what Vikings fans would like to see at this point, I don't know. But you can let me know at this point. I don't know where that one kind of came from at this point in time. So, but it's gonna be more and more and more coming through the good old social media firestorm, if you will, of rumors and reports out there. A couple more texts from you guys here this morning. Dave saying I would also like to pick a pass rusher for the Packers to acquire a Crosby and Myles Garrett, knowing those guys are probably not realistic options for the Packers, though. But I would like to see them, if they were to make a move, improve their pass rush. Nick also saying he'd like a pass rusher or another inside linebacker. And then Erica also saying inside linebacker. Not the biggest Quay Walker fan out there. I think they could use some more depth at that position. So, all right, the top two picks from all y'all Packers fans out there is a pass rusher or linebacker, inside linebacker. I could, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't I don't think there's much more after that. I mean, maybe, um, what would be the third one after that? I'm just kind of going through safety. No, I mean maybe corner for depth if they're not sold on Stokes and Carrington and Valentine. I guess. Uh, I don't know. Maybe offensive line, maybe a left tackle. Kind of getting slim pickings there at that point. I mean, they got the kicker, but I mean, might as well make the statue right now for McManus. Got their punter. They're gonna have their long snapper re-signed. So I mean, that's not even a an option over there. So yeah, maybe defensive line. I don't know. I don't think the list is that big. I don't think the list is that big by any means. So, uh, Brad is also saying a linebacker, and then we've got Scott saying pass rusher. Crosby and Garrett would just be a pipe dream and a dream scenario, but I would like to see them try to get some more talent at that position. Packers will return to practice later on today. Jonathan Ford, remember, was activated, so a little bit more depth there at that position, but kind of remains to be seen what exactly his role is going to be at that point in time. Back to the Bucks here, really quick. I know we're kind of going all over the place here in the first hour and such, but the Bucks season officially tips off tonight. Been asking what are your predictions for this Bucks season, and we got a few predictions over there. Keep them coming, all right. We've got Nick on the Texan line saying Bucks finish third in the Eastern Conference, fall in the series before the Eastern Conference Finals. What were the two teams you'd pick up? Probably Celtics and I'm just gonna say Knicks. Would those be the two teams ahead? We've got Bucks finish second in the Eastern Conference. That's from Brian, and then we've got Luke saying the Bucks finish third behind the Celtics and the Knicks, but advance to the Eastern Conference Finals where they will fall to the Boston Celtics. Going back to the clip that we played at the beginning of the show there, where they were talking about how teams are monitoring the Giannis situation, monitoring how the Bucks will be this year. Dave is saying same song, same dance every single year. Sick and tired of the national talking heads saying that Giannis is going to leave Milwaukee. All it is they want Giannis to leave Milwaukee. It has nothing to do with Giannis wanting to leave to Milwaukee. I've seen that being thrown out there. It's the national peeps that want Giannis, and I would tend to agree with that. I think a little bit because I mean, especially in basketball or baseball are the two big ones. You don't hear that much when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to big name players and or free agents and such. You don't hear too much about the markets. You hear it a little bit more when it comes to the NBA because what are always the teams out there? It's Lakers, it's Knicks, East Coast, West Coast, Miami, down in the South there. Baseball, we know it with no salary caps in baseball. When you've got primo players available via the trade or the free agency, what are the teams that are always mentioned? Well, it's the high spending teams for crying out loud. It's the New York teams. It's the Dodgers. It's those teams over there. So it's the typical, Giannis, what are the teams that he's always kind of been attached to? It's been Golden State. It's been the Lakers. It's been the Knicks. It's been the Heat. Weird. And it is frustrating. It gets annoying, and I think we're all annoyed at this point in time. But again, I just go back to this whole now it just seems like this narrative is spinning around to where, well, Bucks better be doing everything they can to make sure they're showing Giannis that they're contending. What have they not done? I will throw this. What have they done that hasn't been a move or a decision to show Giannis that they're committed to trying to win more championships? What have they done? Or maybe the better question is what haven't they done in terms of moves or decisions they made to show Giannis that they're not in it to win it? Have they been sitting on their hands and twiddling their thumbs? No. I mean, they're firing coaches left and right. They're thinking about trading a player or, moving on from a player, a young player, a former first round pick who hasn't gotten a ton of opportunities just to keep his injured brother around. They're keeping his best man on the team, even though he's gone through some injuries with Middleton. I mean, what have they not done to pacify Giannis? But this narrative is switches like pressure's on Milwaukee. They got to show that they're putting this out there. They're building this thing to keep Giannis around, to prove that this team's committed to winning. What I don't understand. What at some point, you last year too, you look at this, okay, early playoff exit. Yeah, stinks, but you know what? Giannis wasn't on the court. It's a big loss when you don't have your best player on that court, and your team's already a little bit banged up. Dame, your second best player, gets banged up. Giannis wasn't on that court to help that team win their first round series against the Pacers. Whose fault is that? That's Giannis. I mean, it's injury. I don't want to put all the blame, but I mean, Giannis can't be annoyed that they didn't get through the first round when he wasn't on the court to help out his team. This whole talking point, it gets annoying and it gets frustrating at a certain point. And I'm already past that point, but you're right. It's going to be. Oh, can you imagine if the Bucks get off to a slow start and it's just going to get worse and worse? Let's say like the Bucks are hovering around a 6 seed, somewhere around there. I mean, for crying out loud, it's going to get all up there. I mean, I don't know of another player where this happens to. The Heat are always, I should say always, but like last couple years, they've got the best coach in the league. They've got Jimmy Butler on his team, and they're always like 7th or 8th. You don't hear this crap surrounding the Heat. You don't hear that. But because it's little old Milwaukee and they're not supposed to have any good players or championships over there, can't happen there. Move on. Gosh, it's annoying. All right. We'll take a quick break, get back to some more of your comments, texts, tweets, all that good stuff. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. It's that time of year where we got to start kind of planning for winter and some snow coming over here. And that also means getting your vehicle ready to do battle with some snow covered roads out there. It might be time, if it is time, to get some new tires. Look no further than ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only are they your go to spot for saving money on some high quality used auto parts, but they're your go to spot for new tires and also oil changes. Look right now, if you're driving, you're in your vehicle, look in that left-hand corner there. It's a time to, that little sticker up there. You know what I'm talking about. Time to overdue for an oil change, overdue on the date, overdue on the miles. Or, do the little pushing the button on the thing, seeing what percentage of oil, if you got a little bit newer vehicle over there. You know what I'm talking about. If it's time for that oil change, make your appointment. ASAP Used Auto Parts, located at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. Also, too, we've got another week here. I want to give away another Packer Backer burger. Okay, Packer Backer burger. These burgers that are available till the end of the month. So time's running out at Princeton Valley Golf Course. Loaded up with some brats and hamburger from our good friends at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. I'm going to give one away today for who's the most active on our texting line. So participate. It's like school participation awards, right? Or you get points for or credit for participating in class. I'll be honest, I hated that. Okay. I hated that as a student. Hated it. Didn't want to raise my hand. Just leave me alone. Don't call on me in class. Don't make eye contact with the teacher or the professor because they're going to call on you. I had a class in college where a professor graded on who participated the most, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But now here I am asking you to do the same thing. So you can hit us up with some texts on there. We're talking Packers. We're talking Bucks over there. And by the end of the program, we'll select somebody to win one of those burgers. Check it out. You can check out Princeton Valley Golf Course's Facebook page to see a picture of what this gargantuan burger looks like on a pretzel bun over there too. So all right, a couple more texts to get to here this morning. We've got Eric talking about the Bucks, saying predicting he is going with a third seed in the Eastern Conference and advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Another texter, no name, can't give you any credit, but he went out there and threw out over under. Chris Middleton plays 60 and a half games. Oof. I'm gonna go under. I mean, at this point, I think you got to go under. If he's not going to go this week, I think at this point you got to go under. I know he did an interview. Was it with the Athletic last week or so? Said, for him, it's playing 70 some games to be a successful season, and right now that ain't trending in that direction. I mean, last year he started off couldn't play back to backs, and I know it's not Middleton's fault, injuries and such, but dang. You look at the last couple of years now, it's been can't catch a break. Can't catch a break with it. But I might have to go under at this point to answer that question. I hate to say that, but because I think this Bucks team, if they want to make a deep run, they're gonna need a guy like Middleton to help out Giannis and Damian Lillard and such. So, all right, keep those coming. Okay. Also, Packers, if they could acquire somebody by the trade deadline, which is under 2 weeks from now. Got a couple of those. We'll just say it's still the leading vote getter is a pass rusher and linebacker over there. Yeah, the two pass rushers that have been floated out there as teams inquiring with it's been Max Crosby and Myles Garrett, but I don't know I don't think the Browns will move on from Myles Garrett at this point. Max Crosby, I don't know. I don't know. I know Devontae, I think, said that the other day that he didn't think the Raiders were going to trade for him. But, anyways, we'll talk some more football coming up in the next hour and such too. So, but what else do we What else is on your mind here this morning? Throw some baseball chat in here too as we get set for the World Series. I know we talked about the Brewers putting up or getting a new hitting coach yesterday. Actually, now 3 hitting coaches for crying out loud over there. So I think we're going to throw a little baseball talk as we get set for the World Series with the Dodgers and the Yankees. But pitcher for the Dodgers, former pitcher of the Dodgers, Fernando Valenzuela, passing away at the age of 63. Dodgers icon. So the Dodgers will begin getting set to start the World Series against the Yankees on Friday. But one of their icons, one of their best players of all time, Fernando Valenzuela, cultural hero, passing away at the age of 63. So, but it is a World Series that I'm curious about in terms of numbers and ratings because it's Ohtani and it's Aaron Judge. I thought Jeff Passan said it exactly right the other day. This is a very good litmus test to see if baseball truly is, they want to be that world sport, global sports with Ohtani, a lot of the international players. Here we go. We got Ohtani and Judge at it on Friday. So, all right, we got a few minutes left. I've got a question for you this morning.
Oh,
Whoa.
Dang it. I was locked and loaded. Okay. Hit me, Trixie.
All right. The perfect temperature on your thermostat is what for you?
If I want to fight or I don't want to fight at home.
Both.
I run hotter than most people.
I know.
I'm fine into like the 80, 82 degrees.
You're kidding me. On a thermostat, you're in the 80s?
But I understand if we're talking thermostat, not outside.
Right.
74.
That's still hot.
It's not that hot. You're happy now though outside, aren't you? Are you getting cranky?
Winter, we put it at 67.
Listen to me. Are you cranky because it's not summer just like won't let go? It's like the ex that keeps texting you. Are you mad about it? Do you want fall weather? Does this feel good now that we're in the 50s, but you still wish that we weren't above normal?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I'm getting that a lot, that people are cranky just because it's not cold enough yet. And I get it. It's fall. We kind of want fall temps. We know it's going to come eventually. The bottom's going to drop out. But I've never heard people complain about it being too nice out. And like in the last week, a handful of people have been like, I'm so sick of this nice weather. What about you? Where are you at with numbers?
I'm 67.
Oh.
67.
I grew up with a mother who was an ice queen and kept our house, I swear, barely functioning in the furnace department. And we would get our hands slapped if we touched it. I would huddle up in the one room in the house.
Well, this is the question that tells you who you really are as a person.
And did I fail?
Yeah.
It's a pass fail. Okay.
Yeah. You've easily got the highest temperature out there. So,
okay. Yeah. I know I do though, but I know that. I know it's
I know you know that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually
That's why I wanted to ask you.
So my question to you then, actually sports related, when you don't have a horse in the race, so to speak, how do you pick a team to root for? Like the series where it's, not the Brewers, it's not your team. When you're focused on games like that, A, do you care? And B, how do you pick who you're going to cheer for when you really don't have a personal connection?
It depends if there's like a story that goes along with it.
Because a lot of times this happens in the Super Bowl, obviously, as Packers fans. If we're not there, you kind of pick a team. Like we kind of wanted the Lions to do it last year, that kind of thing.
I didn't.
Some people did.
No, not me.
But what are you going to do?
You can't root for a division team.
What are you going to do with the series then? If, obviously we don't have any kind of connection. And a lot of people are like, wah, wah. We don't like to see, the two biggies in there.
So like this one, I just want a good series. I want it to go 7.
You think
I want it to have some dramatics or drama involved with it.
Of course you do.
I mean, because it's Ohtani and it's Aaron Judge, I want that. I want it where we're talking about in 15 years. Yeah, that was a really good World Series.
Well, but see, I get that. And I do like to make a game out of it, especially when it's more fun to watch when you don't necessarily have that deep investment in your team.
Right.
But I have a firm no Yankees, no matter what rule.
Right.
So
it's like, I think for the NFL now, if it's the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I'm anybody but the Chiefs now. It's to that certain point.
Have you flipped over? That's kind of what I was wondering.
It's like the Patriots with Brady all the time.
Old school Cowboys mentality.
Yeah.
Anybody but the Cowboys was kind of like, when I was growing up watching football, it was that anybody but the Cowboys mentality.
You guys won enough. Now go let somebody else win.
Now, do you feel that way just because haters going to hate? Or is there something specific that, like, I live next to Fenway. I went to school in Boston. I'm going to go Red Sox every time. So by default, I'm a no Yankees no matter what.
Right.
So where does your vitriol come from?
if I'm just tired of watching you win all the time, or I mean, if it's
Haters
if
gonna
it's if
hate.
it's Vikings and Chiefs, then I'm forced to root for the Chiefs. So
Okay.
yeah,
So there are certain circumstances in which
yeah, exactly.
okay.
Yep,
So it's all about who you hate more.
yep.
Mhm.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning. A big thanks for tuning in. To all of you who are tuning in here this morning, hit us up with some texts on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line this morning, 715-830-1912. Got some midweek adjustments coming up here. We've got the Bucks tipping off their season tonight, taking on the 76ers. And already we've got no Paul George, we've got no Joel Embiid, and we've got no Chris Middleton playing tonight. Timberwolves falling last night. Lakers making second half comeback there. But Timberwolves fans maybe waking up to the news as well that Rudy Gobert signing an extension, 3 years, $110 million. So NBA season officially underway. Getting your picks and your predictions for this NBA season. We'll make ours. Let's say in the next hour, Luke and I will do our picks for the NBA season. You can play along with us. Tell us how wrong or how right we are. Speaking of Luke, I got to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on this whole? And I found the person who did this now, and for some reason, this individual has thousands and thousands of Twitter followers, X followers. We're talking 57,000 here. That the Vikings and the Rams are in serious discussions to acquire Matthew Stafford.
That is the first I've heard of that.
Oh yeah, Jack Settleman, CEO and founder of Snapback Sports.
Okay, first I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, sources, the Vikings and the Rams are in serious trade talks for Matthew Stafford. Minnesota made a push to trade for Stafford this offseason, but are now revisiting with the idea that he can be the piece to help them win a Super Bowl this season.
I don't buy it. I don't think it will happen. I don't think it should happen.
Why is this even out? This makes no sense.
No.
This makes no... I mean, the fact that it was even mentioned on Maggie and Perloff before we came on here is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
No, I don't like, it would make sense only if somehow they weren't able to get J.J. McCarthy last year. Some team remember we talked about maybe a team was going to swoop up ahead of them, like the Broncos or someone. And then I guess Bo Nix would have been available. But had a team done that, and they would have been shut out of all the quarterbacks, and they would have been, all right, guess we're back to Nick Mullins. And then it gotten Darnold. It kind of makes sense then.
Yeah, or if Darnold got hurt against the Lions.
Also that, that's even more so. Then if it's a double of like you don't have McCarthy or some quarterback of the future, and you don't have a guy right now, but your team is still playing really well. Okay, well, actually, Stafford probably has a few years left in him. It's a very Vikings move of going for the maybe past his prime veteran quarterback that has a bit of a renaissance. They've done that so many times in the last 20-odd years, really going back to Warren Moon was the first example of that.
Randall Cunningham.
Jeff George.
Oh, gosh, yeah, the Jeff George era.
The 1 year, but... Gosh, he was good. I could list so many that they've done.
Gus Farrat.
Brett Favre.
Donovan McNabb.
Yep. The list keeps us. Sam Bradford. Yep. Case Keenum. See, exactly. We're running through all these names right now.
Sam Darnold.
Right. It's literally this year it's happening. So a Matt Stafford trade would make sense in that context. That's not the context. They have their quarterback of the future. We'll see how he does, but they have him. Why would you bring Stafford in and then have a quarterback controversy next year? What? No, that makes no. It's not going anywhere.
I mean, I think, and I don't want to. I'm not a fan, so I don't want to speak for them on behalf of this. But I would feel like if that let's just play a stupid game and say that happens. I feel like a lot of fans would be excited about it, pumped up about it. But I could see where that would have a negative reaction within the locker room. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because I feel like this team is all, the players are all supporting Darnold.
Seems like a good chemistry team right now.
Yeah. And I don't know if that would be the smartest thing to do. I don't know, but.
No, there's too much adjustment to happen. Stafford has his injury history, so he gets injured in week 10.
And then you go back to Sam Darnold.
Right. So why are we doing this? Again, it's the future of the team that makes the least amount of sense, because now you got a legit problem for next year. Like I think the only way you would do that is if there was something with McCarthy where you'd know, oh my gosh, this could be like a 2-year injury. What kind of 2-year injury does he have? That would be horrific.
Mm-hmm.
But if they knew something like that, that's such an extreme. So this seems like the classic rumor from a guy who wanted to plant something, et cetera, et cetera. When you started saying the Rams, I was like, Nakua?
Oh,
really?
Cool. Cooper Kupp's the big one out there that's getting traded.
Or him too, or something like that. Well, yeah.
Well, that's another thing you guys don't really need. I mean, you got Addison and Justin Jefferson. You got Hawkinson coming back for crying out loud,
yeah.
So.
That's like an embarrassment of riches. Like that, and that would make more sense because you add more depth, because it's not the one guy. I don't think Jefferson's suddenly going to complain if he has fewer catches. I mean, he's got paid now, so he's fine. No, if the Rams and Vikings are trading, it involves a much lesser caliber of player, if at all.
Yeah.
No, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know where the hell that thing came from. It's just, this is what bugs me about. So, like the DeAndre Hopkins trade this morning, going to the Chiefs, in case you didn't hear about that. This is what bugs me about quote unquote insiders or these people, is they obviously know, they obviously have contacts and all that, but at sometimes, don't you realize you do get played by agents and teams? I mean, don't you realize this at times? How many times has Andrew Brandt tweeted that out? You know, teams or agents would call him and say, "Hey, can we just use your name?" I mean, at some point, like what really bugs me is about this. Like, I saw this after the DeAndre Hopkins trade. A few of these insiders say this was the deal that was actually been in the works the last couple of days. Then why the hell did you not report it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just like, okay, if you knew this was going on in the works, then why didn't you say it a couple days ago? You didn't know it was going on. You got played.
Yep.
You got played.
Yeah. There's gamesmanship is a strong thing with a lot of this, for either getting played or knowing and having a reason to not say anything until a certain time. There's a lot below that we don't see.
It's this whole gotta be first mentality too, where it's just, that's why honestly, I appreciate a guy like a Jay Glazer, who, you know, he's not one of those that's like, oh, where, you know, as soon as a trade happens, you have every other insider saying sources say. It's like, no, it's that I got to be the first one to tweet it, sort of thing. It's just, it gets annoying. It gets really annoying.
Yeah, having to have your Jeff Passan was on the SI Media podcast recently. He was talking, and this is right before the rumor started that he's going to be upgraded to NBA. Or
yeah, what the heck was that? It started off with Schefter, then it moved to Jeff Passan, and then now it's Shams.
Right,
which I loved Jeff Passan's response on Twitter after it was officially announced that it was Shams. Did you see that?
I did not.
I think he tweeted something about baseball's a better sport anyways. Which, if you've listened to Jeff Passan, that's the perfect response.
Yeah.
From Jeff Passan. So
yes, it is. I was actually a little worried that, given the tea leaves and some of the indications that ESPN wants to minimize their baseball presence in the near future, that was like a little bit of the surfacing of that approach of like, we'll just move Passan over here, and then we're probably going to end up sometime during the offseason of finding out Carl Ravitch and Buster Olney have been let go from ESPN. Baseball Tonight's been discontinued. I still am worried that is legitimately coming, and they're about to go all in on everything NFL and NBA.
Basically, if they want to buy the NFL Network.
Yeah, right. Basically be a hot take network. God. But I guess Passan would be the cheaper option. I mean, literally cheaper option. That he would have to be trained into it as well. So that didn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, that it's such a grind. When Passan was on that podcast, he talked about having like phone in the shower. I think we've heard in similar stories from some of the other insiders. So you get this drive to be first all the time. It's part of the reason why I wonder if Woj was like, I'm out.
Well, he kind of said too, it was like just the nonstop on call sort of stuff.
Gosh, how do you? Wow, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it would be cool to have that, but at the same time, if your job is driven by trying to be the first, you really don't have an outside life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back. First of all, he posted the clip from Wolf on Wall Street. I'm not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then he responded by saying baseball's better anyway.
Well,
but I feel like of the insider, you mentioned the hot take thing. I feel like Jeff is kind of a guy who doesn't fit ESPN because he's not really a hot take.
No,
sort of person.
He has strong takes, not hot takes.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree with that.
It's not going to get the Kendrick Perkins destroys the zone. I mean, that's the classic hot take.
Mm-hmm.
Passan usually does not do that. Well, and he also reserves what he says. So when he does say something like, "Oh, okay," the classic reserve until when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Those people you pay more attention to because they're not always talking.
Right. Well,
he's good at that.
Speaking of the hot takes on the mothership, did you hear what Shams said yesterday?
Is this about Chris Middleton?
No. Oh, Giannis and the Bucks.
Oh, so it's probably tied in.
Shams and Brian Windhorst, along with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp. So there you go. There's
the Mount Rushmore of current ESPN hot takes.
Yeah, you ready? So you didn't hear what he said about?
I did not hear. But I saw tweets about it, and I thought it may have had something to do with Middleton and his injuries.
So the topic is, what is the biggest NBA storyline entering the season? And obviously, this was yesterday. You know, they were talking a little bit about Bronny, being on the court with LeBron and that sort of thing. Here's what both Windhorst and Shams had to say. Audio courtesy from First Take. So yeah, there's apparently this is the storyline heading. How good are the Bucks going to be so we can get Giannis?
Start your New York Knicks photoshops once again. Here we go.
Well, and then later on,
I don't have enough room for him, but still.
Later on, it was said, "Are we sure Giannis doesn't regret playing his entire career in Milwaukee?" I'm hearing he says he wishes he played in Miami or Vegas after the expansion. What do we do?
Yep, let's go.
I mean, my issue to this is the whole narrative. Are the Bucks doing enough to stay competitive? My question would be, what have the Bucks not done to make Giannis happy at this point? They have done everything for Giannis. They've kept Chris Middleton, the best man at his wedding, not his brother. Middleton was the best man at his wedding. They acquired Damian Lillard. There's a report that they could trade Marjon Beauchamp, a first-round pick, just to open up a roster spot for Thanasis, who can't play this year because of a torn Achilles. What have the Bucks not done for everything for Giannis at this point? Yet it's being spun like, yeah, Bucks got to do this and this and this. What have they not done? What have they not done?
They haven't become a team in a warm weather climate or a big market. I think it is annoying to a lot of NBA folks and I mean that broadly. And I do wonder how much of this. I mean, let's take them at their word. What Brian Windhorst and Shams Charania, I'm screwing up his last name. I'll get it.
That's why I just say Shams.
Well, most people do that, actually. That what they're probably hearing is right. It's very easy to be like, yeah, well, of course, the ESPN people don't want that because of ratings. Well, for one, the on-air personalities are not the business people either. The business people are the ones that worry about the ratings. Two, I would think 29 other NBA teams would want to have Giannis Antetokounmpo and want to find some way to get him. He's still that talented. So of course, they're going to be saying stuff like that. I do think I mean, maybe it's more the media folks than the NBA folks that are annoyed that it's the Milwaukee Bucks that have Giannis Antetokounmpo. He should be on the Heat. He should be on the Lakers. Why do the Bucks have him? It screws up how the NBA world should be in their view.
Well, you're right, because it's straight up. It's Milwaukee, because I'll throw out this comparison. Okay, Miami, the last 2 years, yes, I know they went to the finals in 2023 or 2022, 2023. But the last 2 years, they were an AC. But this is a team that apparently has the best coach in the league. They have Jimmy. You don't hear this stuff about those guys, though.
Nope. It's Miami.
It's Miami.
It's a destination. Mm-hmm. Same with eventually Vegas. Same with, of course, Los Angeles and New York. And places where like tax rates are low or it's warm all year round. I mean, I'm a little surprised we haven't already started to hear why is Ant playing in Minnesota?
Right.
He needs to play somewhere better than that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because the Twin Cities are a bigger market. Maybe.
Well, I think it's coming, though, probably.
It probably is.
Yeah.
I mean, because remember the situation there. Remember that ESPN poll that has like all of the different categories for like the most desirable place, and market wise, last year the Twin Cities were worst. Like, huh? Like then compared to like Cleveland or Indianapolis, I think the weather has a lot to do with it.
I want to. This might not be a great point.
By side note, they moved up by a few. It's like 27th or 28th. I wonder if some of that's Timberwolves doing as well. It's like, well, maybe Minnesota isn't so bad, but it's still really low.
How much does it help Minnesota, the Twin Cities? Okay, for Anthony and that, but you also have in your same city, you mentioned the Twins, but the Vikings. But where I'm going with this now is that the cover.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
Edwards. You can tag team with that. Milwaukee is just the Bucks and Brewers team that doesn't spend a lot of money. Your football team's north, hour and a half north or so. Does that affect that situation where, almost like the Vikings team could kind of piggyback off their star powers, and they got young star players over there?
They have two of the coolest players in pro sports right now. But whatever anyone listening to this show thinks of Minnesota sports, the reality is Justin Jefferson and Anthony Edwards are collectively among the sports right now of American athletes, top 10.
Yep, especially for the younger people.
Yes, you could make a top 5 argument. You have to parse it a little bit. That's saying a lot, and I know NFL, NBA are different, but that's a factor. Like, oh, okay, that's not a bad place. And Twin Cities haven't always been flyover territory, like you said. The cover that they recreated, the Randy Moss, Kevin Garnett cover. Go back to the early 90s when like every championship was happening there, partially because Super Bowl, but partially because teams were. I mean, it's had its moments. That's why you can't exactly compare that to Milwaukee. It's not fair because the Packers had all of their heritage and history and gravitas in Milwaukee. Different story entirely. If the Badgers are also in Milwaukee, you see, Minnesota has the advantage of pretty much everything outside of hockey, and that's dispersed so much with all the college programs, but everything is in one place. Wisconsin's spread out. So Milwaukee is not as cool of a place. But of course the Twin Cities has that cold problem.
Right.
And that is a legit problem, but it's much more of a city than you have more options, more entertainment options than you do in Milwaukee.
And how much does it factor that Chicago is just right below them too?
Yeah, probably.
A little bit.
Might as well. See, now that might actually be a benefit for Milwaukee because you're not that far from Chicago. Whereas in the Twin Cities, you are more isolated.
Right.
You got to go a long ways to get to Milwaukee, to get to Chicago, and then anywhere else, it's Plains territory. So yeah, it's probably coming for Edwards. I think it also depends on how well the team performs. I think it's probably helping in their case that they're seemingly accelerating faster than Milwaukee was. But that's about as far as I can go with this. I do wonder too if to a certain degree, once the dreaded narrative, once it starts, really tough to shut down. We see this in all sorts of things. We see it in politics. We see it in entertainment. We see it in sports a lot. So once Giannis is unhappy, Giannis wants to go, even if that is based on legitimate concern, and it's out there too. It's not like Giannis is going, I never, ever. No, he's talked.
Yeah, he's talked, and he's partially at fault for this.
Right. So that's where, again, what Shams and Brian Windhorst are saying probably is based on a lot going on that we aren't hearing. But because that's out there, it's going to come back frequently. Sure doesn't help that the Bucks seem to be kind of spinning their wheels as about somewhere between a 4th and a 6th seed right now with a player that should be an NBA championship contender. Whereas there's nothing about that with Anthony Edwards at all. So until indications start coming from Ant, you're not going to hear anything. And that, at least until people start going, why is he in Minnesota? Why isn't he in Los Angeles? Which, and again, that's coming. But you got to kind of have a 2 to tango. Until Edwards does that, tango is going to be pretty difficult to pull off.
Yeah. And
this sucks, by the way, that here we are going in like Windhorst was saying, we should be celebrating here. We're already talking about, Bucks in trouble as Giannis went out. Let's start photoshopping. Let's go.
Well, and the worst thing that's going to happen is if the Bucks get off to a slow start.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to add fuel to the fire.
Are we going to start doing the whole, like the old Aaron Rodgers, what did he mean? We're going to start doing this now with Giannis. Every comment, every look to the sideline, that is an indication that he wants to be traded to the Nets. Like, really?
Is this? I think this is a reason why, though. Too, maybe it's hard for people to get on the bandwagon and be NBA fans or be Bucks fans or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just because of the constant player movement or it's. To me, the NBA, and we've talked about this before, is more individualized than any other team sport.
Yes.
It's more individualized than football. Yes, you have your individual players in baseball and such, but to me, you make or break a team by one player because, okay, Bucks trade Giannis, you might as well just tear down the whole thing. It's not like, okay, we can move on from Giannis and still compete. No, you might as well just restart the whole thing then.
They're going to be in trouble. I mean, they'll still be around. It's not like they're going to be contracted or they're going to move, but they're going to turn into some version of the Wizards or the Hornets or the Hawks. Hawks should be doing way better given their market, but you know where I'm going with this. Or the Pacers. Yeah, even though the Pacers were conference final. One of those teams where like there's like, okay, yeah, cool. You're never going to really contend for a championship unless you really luck out. Well, then maybe they do. Maybe they pull a Packers and find a draft pick that becomes the next Giannis. It's possible. Packers have apparently pulled it off 3 times in a row. Maybe the Bucks do the same thing too. But that, I think, is maybe a thought from a fair amount of Bucks fans or sports fans around here of like after this, that was the fear when previous times with Giannis. Like once he goes, the Bucks drift back to irrelevancy, barring a lot of effort on their part. They could change that, but it's going to be way tougher.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, it's the biggest criticism surrounding the NBA is just how the game's played right now, too. So
yeah. Hey, well, more 3-pointers. Yeah. There you go.
Well, I was thinking about this actually yesterday. You know, if I was stuck on a deserted island and I got one channel to watch, one sport to watch the whole time, that was it, between the NBA and the NHL, I think me personally would be the NHL.
Wow. That is a seismic shift.
It's the quality of the game at this point.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I don't understand all the rules and all that. So, I could not officiate an NHL game. We'll put it this way.
Mhm.
But I think NHL is more entertaining than the NBA product right now at this point.
All right. So how about this? You could choose one product.
You're undefeated Minnesota Wild, by the way, technically 4-0-2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, some overtime losses, but we'll take it. Last night helped with the goal differential.
Yep.
Over the defending champs. Okay, here's a question: NBA or WNBA?
Ooh.
See,
Yeah.
if you're talking quality of play,
Yeah.
I mean, how much of the finals did you watch?
WNBA finals? A little bit.
Okay. What did you think of the overall technique, the overall play compared to the NBA in terms of like schematics and fundamentals?
It was, I thought, yes, I know there was some drama in game 5 there at the end.
Yeah.
But hey, it goes back to the whole thing that we've always talked about is bad publicity good publicity for this point?
Yeah, kind of is.
For this one?
Still think the commissioner probably shouldn't have worn a New York dress. I know the game was in there, but really? But yeah.
I thought it was a very entertaining finals.
You
had drama, you had game winning shots
back and
from
forth
the logo.
Yeah, these were entertaining games, but they were well played games.
It was the perfect finals that you could have without Caitlin Clark in it.
Yes, it worked. Like, I'm not that bummed out that my team lost in an overtime game with a potential bad call. Ordinarily, I'd be like, this would wreck me for a week with a Minnesota sports team. I'm not that bummed out because I understood the whole context, the bigger picture. They weren't the favorite. I know that one call, there are a lot of it was a good series, and I'm kind of glad that the Lynx got to be part of that because it was overall so well played, had so many moments, and it was a great capper to the season. But the game itself was played well. There was a lot more in the way of passing, of strategy, of playing actual basketball as opposed to run down, chuck up a three, run down, chuck up a three, run down, chuck up a three, run down, chuck up a three.
And as of note, Celtics almost broke the single game record last night.
Yeah, so they got up to 29, and then they keep chucking up threes, and then they miss 13 in a row. And I know we got to take a break, but this reminds me of something I heard. Derek Thompson is on, does some podcasts through the Ringer, and he was talking about how optimizing sports, and is there a way to kind of like hack your way to like perfect optimization? And mentioned baseball. We saw that with the 3 true outcomes and analytics to the point where the league has had now to change the rules because it was so figured out. The NBA was the other example. Once you figured out threes, you kind of hacked the sport. You've solved basketball. So, and I hope the WNBA doesn't eventually go to that point where we're just having, like, I want Sabrina Ionescu, heartbreak over 3 that was. I want that to be the exception, not, okay, 3, 3, 3, 3, which is what I know that doesn't happen every play in the NBA. I'm literally watching a play right now from last night's Wolves game. It's not that. But that kind of solved the product. Okay, just keep shooting threes. That's the most efficient way to do it. So I more fundamentals are better. And so would you take to wrap it up, would you take the WNBA or the NBA on an island?
I might take WNBA.
Yeah. You got to think, like, I got to think about it.
I got to think about it, but man, in terms of overall quality, like, I don't want to watch the same. And I know these were easily the 2 best teams, but the arrow's trending upward, I think.
It is.
If that makes sense.
It absolutely is.
All right. You're right. We got to take a quick break here. So we'll do that. So we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. One of the best Wisconsin traditions we have is the Friday fish fry, and we're always on the quest to find our favorite or go-to Friday fish fry. Well, hey, you don't have to look any further, Chippewa Valley, because your go-to Friday fish fry is at the VFW Post 305. In fact, your new go-to breakfast spot for some of those taco omelets is at the VFW Post 305. So what are you waiting for? Your new go-to stop is at the VFW Post 305, located at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Somebody had just sent me a message and said, if Giannis were to ever leave to the Bucks, would Bucks fans be upset with him, treat him as a traitor, or be thankful for what he has done? I think for me personally, okay, yeah, I would be thankful for what you did, but I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I'd be upset. And
I'd be upset.
I would be.
And a lot of it would be because, again, I go back to the question: what has the Bucks done to not make Giannis happy?
They've done a lot, although, and this is where I would side with Giannis, I'm not sure that they've done it the right way. And this,
but if the trades were all and the hirings and firings were all because Giannis wanted those,
yeah, then that's a little scummy to be like, yeah, do this, do this, do this, do this. I don't like this. I'm out. What's your guys' problem? Like how much of the whole Adrian Griffin thing was both Giannis wanting him, by most accounts, absolutely,
yep,
and firing him, which seems to be a thing. Like, that's not as confirmed, but boy, that would suck.
Yeah,
if it was.
Yep. This is why, again, I go to. It's that whole debate about how much do you try to make your star players. Look at the Jets right now, right? Look, I mean, we know who's running the show over there. They're 2-5.
Yep. But it's the media's fault, by the way.
It is the media's fault. Yeah. But it's that whole, like, I know we talked about when Aaron was in Green Bay. It's like how, he wants so-and-so, or leave even when Favre was there. He wants Randy Moss. Should you make – it's that battle back and forth. You got to make your pro or your superstar happy and surrounded with talent, but at the same time, you got to run it like a business too. Like right now, who won that Aaron Rodgers trade? Green Bay or the Jets? I think it's Green Bay.
Yep.
I think it's Green Bay.
Now.
So,
clearly. Well, let's play it out. It's the best we can do at this point.
Enjoy it while we have it, right?
Yeah, and hey, the other possibility is maybe the Bucks do go on a run this year, and we're not hearing too much about this. I know it's easy to then go back and say, well, of course, because the Bucks are having a great regular season. They're a great regular season team, which is kind of true, unfortunately. But maybe they go on a postseason run, and the reality is probably will not be tamped down until the Bucks are in like the Eastern Conference Finals. What I will say, this is a big crash from a year ago where we're like, they got to be NBA champions. How are they not NBA champions with Dame? That seemed like the thing that was going to set. And a year later, like, gosh, they're old. Chris is out again. Is Giannis going to leave? Feels like we canceled out all the excitement of a year ago, which granted last season did a lot for that. But yeah,
it's like, you get to that whole where some fans will be like, God, why won't the national media talk about my team? Why won't they talk about the Bucks? Why aren't they giving any credit to the Bucks? And when they do, it's about Giannis. It's like, stop talking about my team.
Well,
they're talking about the wrong things, essentially. So
yeah, I guess. I mean, there's a little bit of careful what you wish for with that, but I mean, they are getting talked about. The worst is being ignored.
No,
the Bucks essentially didn't exist as an NBA team until Giannis got good.
Right?
Was that great? No. I mean, you don't want to feel like your team is just occupying slots for revenue opportunities for the NBA. They want to actually be relevant. So I guess you kind of have to take it right now. And
honestly, like, that's just where I kind of feel, I shouldn't say kind of, I do feel a little bit better with, and I know Haslam is part of the ownership group, but we at least have the good impression, good idea that, okay, there's an ownership group, though, that is willing to spend for players, right? They've proven that.
I think they would keep doing that post Giannis.
That's where I was kind of getting at there. Is like, I feel confident they would still try to do that. Still try to, they're not, if there is a rebuild, which there might be eventually, but it wouldn't be 10, 15, 20 years. you know, where you're just like drafting and trying to see if anything sticks.
Right.
So,
yeah.
and
So
that's not, I'm not trying to pick on Herb Cole or anything like that, but it was kind of that they weren't big players. We know that.
no.
You know, it was like, okay, we get a 7th or 8th seed in the postseason. It's
That's
like, okay, cool.
It was basically constant mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad enough to bottom out, not good enough to win a championship. They were always just sort of there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think this ownership group's going to go over that now. How long all of them stick around is also another question. Already one is out. I mean, I presume Wes Edens going to stick around, but he's got a pretty successful team. Aston Villa won yet another Champions League game yesterday. Just saying. So he's got more success overseas right now in a bigger context than the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Does he decide he wants to cash out, go all in over there in the Premier League and get more value? And what does that lead? Does that lead to, now this would be the downside potentially, Haslam's become the number one owner? Given what we're seeing over in Cleveland, between what may go down as a Vikings fan, I know it's not a trade, but I'm starting to think of like the worst acquisition in NFL history. Sure is looking like the Deshaun Watson acquisition.
You mean your Herschel Walker one might get supplanted?
Might fall down to number, again, not trades, because that's still number one. But overall acquisitions, I think that's still probably number one. And that's
Deshaun was a trade.
That's right, it was.
Yeah, Deshaun was a trade.
That's right, because it's the contract that gets. Okay, so yeah, definitely. I think we are very, very fast on the route to that. I think you almost could make the switch now.
The Texans have fleeced the Browns in their last 2 quarterback trades. Because remember, it was the Texans that traded Brock Osweiler to the Browns too, and just said, "Can you just take this contract?" Yeah, sure, we'll take it.
The Brock Lobster.
Yeah, and then now Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Yep. So, don't think those two are ever going to trade again. But between that and now this whole thing with the stadium in suburban Cleveland, you heard about that last week?
Yeah.
Where because I was a little surprised it got like no national attention, and usually those things do. I only found out about it because it was in Uniwatch of all places. Otherwise, I would have completely gone under my radar. But sure seems like the Cleveland folks are not too happy with him. Plus, Haslam's haven't exactly said how they're going to have all the money for this new stadium that they're absolutely determined to make.
Yeah, well, that usually bodes well.
Yeah, let's see the Bears, for example, still trying to. Yep, we're definitely moving. So how are you going to move to a new stadium around Chicago? That looks like a tire fire of an ownership group who may end up being the full owners of the Bucks at some point.
Gosh,
that's a scary thought. I don't want the Haslam, and I know their reputation apparently in like ownership circles is way better, but that would worry me. I guess not from a spending point of view.
Just here's the thing: I want my owners just to write the checks.
Yeah.
Don't make the basketball or football decisions or anything like that. Just write the checks.
Like they would be the ones to bring in like Joel Embiid right now on like the biggest contract ever, right as he's or Kawhi Leonard or someone like that. Like really now? But provided that doesn't happen. And you still have Edens involved. Who's the third guy? Was it Jamie Dimon? Now
you got Junior Bridgman in there too. So,
and I don't mean the Jamie Dimon from the big banker in New York. Is a different one.
And don't forget maybe the 1% from Aaron Rodgers that I think we all assume he still has.
That's right. So remember, Aaron Rodgers still your Wisconsin sports figure. As long as they're still around, I think they still spend. And there'll be restrictions to a certain degree, but we're not going back to the Cole era. I don't see that happening at all.
Right.
So there's a little bit of reassurance long term, but again, they got to get the right ones. They got to get the right players. They got to nail something. Giannis is a unicorn, but something like that or some combination of players.
I would agree. All right, we got to take our final break for the second hour. Join in on the convo, peeps. You can hit us up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. As the old phrase goes, look good, play good. Well, if you're a sports team or a league, listen up. If you need some new jerseys or maybe some apparel for your team or league, you don't have to look too far for help. Residence Branding Company is right in your own backyard. From jerseys, pants, shorts to other gear you may need to help you perform and look your best on the field and court, Residence Branding Company will work with you to get just what you need. They'll even help set you up with an online store so your fans can purchase some merchandise, or maybe you can help raise some funds for your teams or leagues too. Just visit residencebrandingcompany.com to get started. Remember, look good and play good. Just a few minutes to the top here. Coming up next hour, we'll talk some more football. We've got picks and predicts, our NBA predictions as well, with the season officially starting yesterday. But the Bucks will tip off tonight, and you'll be able to catch that game here on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. coverage will begin. World Series also starts on Friday, the World Series that all the networks wanted, right? All the networks wanted, with Ohtani and Judge. Feels like a lot of runs potentially in this one.
I would hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on the Dodger pitching situation. The Yankees could go off. If this, maybe I should say this for picks and predicts, but I guess I'm already tipping which way this could go. If this goes fast, this World Series is not a 7-gamer. It's going to be because of that.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope it's a classic. I mean,
you hope so, of course. Yeah,
like I don't want either team to win. So at this point, I just want it to be a game. 7 games, good games, a good series.
Well, and here's the possibility that, given that the Dodgers have home field advantage, there is the possibility, like this would be the ultimate. This would be like Ohtani versus Trout in the World Baseball Classic for the final out. So the comp for that here, even though we won't have Ohtani pitching, we ignore the room, it's not happening, would be bottom of the 9th, game 7. Dodgers have like 2 or 3 on. They're down by like 1 or 2. Ohtani at the plate, launches the ball to center field, going back. Aaron Judge is chasing it, leaps at the wall, and how's that for an ending?
Yeah, finished.
How's that for an ending?
It's like the movie Little Big League with Twins and Mariners playing in there, and Lou Brock hits that shot, and then it's Ken Griffey Jr. that drops the home run.
Right.
At the Metrodome, too. At the Metrodome.
It's the Metrodome. I'm seeing all sorts of flashbacks this morning because they're right there. A lot of my Twitter accounts are like sports history ones, so I'm seeing all sorts of 91 World Series ones. Right now, it's all games that were at Fulton County Stadium, but still, that place was not an easy place to play. As we well know, weird stuff happened. But wouldn't that be the best if it's Aaron Judge trying to catch a potential Shohei Ohtani World Series winning home run? And I'm not going to finish that because either outcome, it would be the best. That's why I intentionally left it at and.
You know what?
I want that.
I kind of want Aaron Judge to do that because my kid is actually, for a school project, they're writing a how-to book. And his how-to book is how to rob a home run, and he uses Aaron Judge as an example.
Ooh.
So that would actually fit his book perfectly.
Wow. This could happen in the next couple weeks.
He should get an A+ then because of that.
Nice.
A+.
That's good.
So, no, I'm looking. I know it's Dodgers, Yankees, and blue, but
hasn't happened in 43 years.
I know, and it's the star power. So as a general baseball fan, I'm looking forward to it. I will be watching because it is star power.
Yes. This is the best case scenario for where baseball is at right now. If they wanted to, I think, was it you that mentioned like the litmus test for like.
Yeah, Jeff Passan said this is the litmus test for, globalizing world sport sort of thing here.
I would say in terms of domestic status, and they're not going to be going outside of Monday night. They're really not going to be going up against like the NFL. We're not going to have that stupid comparison.
Right.
This is the best case scenario for who are the biggest stars, the most identifiable stars, and there's not many, but they're in this one. Biggest markets, biggest brands, all of that. So this is the best baseball can do right now. And then, let's see. If it's that bad, then bigger problem. Got to fix it. If it's good, I'm not really sure what that means, but at least we know. You can't have an asterisk of like, but the Diamondbacks got in, so that kind of skews it. No, now we'll know.
Right.
Unless it's a 4-gamer and it's uncompetitive.
Yep, I agree. All right, 2 in, final hour coming up after these news updates. All right, here we go. Final hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning. Hopefully you're all off to a fantastic start, up and at it, and getting to work or getting to school here this morning. Gonna talk some football coming up here as we are already on to week 8, approaching the halfway mark of this season. We've got trades galore, at least for wide receivers right now, and we're just under 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. NFL trade deadline, the NFL used to be laughed at. Ha! Nothing would happen. Now, the last couple of years, stuff happens actually. So, nice. Let's see. I'm curious if anybody in the NFC North does anything just with how competitive the division is.
No, let's see, was it Judd Zulgad in his Substack was saying that they really should look at either defensive line helping in the rush. Was the guy with the Giants that maybe is going to be? Was it Lawrence? Dexter Lawrence, I think.
Okay,
maybe, but that would take a lot. Or cornerback help. The cornerbacks aren't the worst, given how bad of an offseason this was for a lot of reasons. If they really want to compete, they probably should upgrade, and there might be a way to do that. I would not be surprised to see the Vikings decide. We talk about this with baseball all the time. Are you in or are you out? Are you a seller or a buyer? I think the Vikings are a buyer. They feel they're good enough overall. The Lions did figure out the defense this past week, but not everyone's going to have a have a Gibbs that can go off for like 120 plus. But they're going to be competitive enough. I feel that they can do a little bit of a playoff run. I don't know that they're thinking Super Bowl, but at least enough that I think they're going to look for somebody who's not a rental. They're looking for someone who can be there if and when McCarthy becomes a good quarterback. That's why I say if and when, we don't know. But to get this past competitive rebuild and just stay straight up competitive.
The NFC North team most likely to make a trade is, I say Lions.
Yeah, and I'm only hesitating because I'm thinking through this. I don't think the Bears do. I don't think the Packers do. Yeah, now that I think about it, I think the Lions it'd be easy to draw a line from Hutchinson to that. I don't know that that's necessarily what they address. It's the obvious one, but I could see them doing some other things that shore up other aspects of the team to ameliorate what they lose with Aiden Hutchinson being gone.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it's especially, they're at that point too where they're shelling out contracts, right? So they don't have the luxury of, all this cap space and such. Right. So they're kind of in that win now mode too. So
that's definitely, they're the closest to that. So yeah, I agree. Lions are most likely to make a move. So most likely to make a move or most likely to make the biggest collective amount of move or moves. Because maybe the Vikings nibble around the side, whereas maybe the Lions make one trade, but it's a big one, for example.
Yeah, I think I still think it's the Lions with the biggest one.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, what was I going to, with the Lions too, Jameson Williams, 2-game suspension, so at least Green Bay doesn't have to face him next week coming over here. I was just kind of wondering, going through, I don't think they do, but their general manager did come from the Rams. Would Cooper Kupp be an option?
Reunited?
Yeah.
Or kind of, yeah.
Kind of over there. Yeah.
It's possible.
They still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I get that, but still.
It would give them more of an option because otherwise you can load up on St. Brown and potentially cut down the Lions offense a little bit more. But that's also for 2 games. I know 2 games make a difference, but if you figure you got a good enough team that it really does not matter the seeding, you're going to do well in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, then you don't want to make a big trade for that.
If you're the Rams, though, do you really want to? Look at that division. 49ers are all banged up, and they're under 500. Is Seattle that dominating where you're like, yeah, we can't catch them? I don't think so.
It's close enough for any of them. That's why with the Niners having this season from hell right now, we hear about that often. That's what they're dealing with right now. I don't know that that's still going to completely knock them out, honestly. They still got a shot. But that also applies to the Rams. Hardly any wins this season.
If
But-
the Rams beat your Vikings this weekend, then I think you don't make any moves, big
Right.
time moves.
Yeah.
If you lose, then you're down to 2-5, and then it's kind of like, okay, maybe then. Because you got Vikings and Seahawks the next 2 weeks if you're the Rams.
Right. And I think they got somewhat of a shot being that it's at SoFi,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean,
I'm really hoping Matthew Stafford. I'm a big Rams fan this week. Just
understandably so.
Yeah.
I get
have
that.
to be so.
So when would the Williams suspension likely have? I'm looking at the Lions schedule to see. I mean,
he's missing this week and next week.
Okay, so he would be out for the Titans game. Should be a win anyway. And then the Packers game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I get that, but so are you? But also, how quickly do you want to make that trade when the trade deadline's still to come after the Packers?
Right. No, I mean, I wasn't thinking of it just in terms of just, Jameson's missing out. I mean, if they want to go full on board, all in chips and sort of thing.
Kind of like the Rams in 2021.
Right. When they had Cooper Kupp, but then they bring in Odell Beckham Jr. To go with him.
Well, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They won the Super Bowl. Mission accomplished. As much as I get so derided, and I still... Sorry, that's one of my bugaboos of like, yeah, but look what happened after them. They won the freaking Super Bowl. What more do you want? Like, come on. That's you play to win the game and they won the game.
Right.
Okay. So if the Lions do that this year, if they blow up their team for next year, but they actually get a Super Bowl, their first title since the 50s, good for them. That's what you need to do as an organization.
No, not good for them. I'm not rooting for them. I don't care.
know, of course,
there's no feel-good story when it comes to your division teams. None.
Well, okay. For us, no. But for their sake, sure, fine. Do what you want. Still got nothing.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask this. I want to throw this out to everybody out there. What would you do in this scenario? Pretend you're a Packers fan now, Luke. Okay.
Yes.
Because this was a big story from Sunday's game. Did a fan get ejected or not? Did you hear about this story?
Yes, I did.
So I saw it happen, obviously, because I was there. When Joe Mixon did a Lambeau leap, he was getting pushed out, right? And apparently, I didn't realize this, but apparently cops came then and escorted this fan out because he was denying Mixon from trying to do a Lambeau leap, which isn't the first time this has happened, right? I mean, we've seen guys jump in and they get pushed back out. And then there's this whole conspiracy theory because Brandon McManus, when he did his Lambeau leap, there was photos like, hey, the fan's back. Did he sneak back in? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the story is that they went to the tape.
The replay review.
Instant replay. And they said, okay, he didn't do really anything egregious, but they gave him a verbal warning. It's like getting pulled over and you get a verbal warning first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he went back to his seat. And he gets involved in another Lambeau leap sort of thing. So, okay, you're there, and an opponent comes in, Lambeau leaps in you. You push him out, or you just embrace it? What do you do?
I think, honestly, I'd be too shocked by what's happening. Like, wait a minute, there's a fully dressed NFL player who just scored a touchdown 10 seconds ago, and he's jumping into me.
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, whoa. Like, there's honestly part of me to be like, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And it would take out fandom. Like, what I'm actually trying to do is imagine if I were at US Bank Stadium and like, what if it were Josh Jacobs jumping up there? What would I do? Like, I wouldn't push him out, but I saw the fans quote though.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying like, it was all in good fun. It's more of a, this is our house. You don't do that.
Right.
I get that, actually. I mean, the thing is, it's really tricky to do in real time to be like, yeah, this isn't personal. I'm just pushing you out for that. Ha, ha, ha. Like, I know that's the intent, but then it looks like, what are you doing? Plus, anything that is a negative touching of a player is going to get you in trouble really fast with security. If you think about it, the Lambeau leap is like the one thing.
It got grandfathered in for celebrations and such. Yeah.
Is that really for like, and I know there are other leaps at other stadiums. So that, but the concept of that, is that the one thing in pro sports period outside of like maybe NBA players doing high fives with courtside fans, where it is okay to make contact with a player every other circumstance you can imagine, you were probably banned for life from that stadium.
Yeah, foul ball, don't touch it, nothing,
Yeah, you
Don't be
fall down
Bartman.
on the stadium.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah.
Anything else. So if it's pushing him off, well, that's violated that. Now you've done the bad thing.
But at some point, the player, I'm pushing him out because the player also has to recognize that was his choice to jump in there.
Mhm.
That was Joe Mixon's decision to do that.
Yeah, the fan did not leave. That's the part. That's the.
Here's
crux
my
of
thing:
this.
if I got a little kid, I'm not saying he did, but if I have a little kid there and I got a big old football player going to jump in there, no, I'm protecting my kid. You get the heck out of the way,
Right?
There.
Well, that's where the fan. That's usually why players get in
Mhm.
big trouble when they go into the stands for negative reasons. Positive, like if you get like an Indy 500 guy running over, like what's happened the last couple of years, that's pretty cool. Usually it's negative.
Yeah.
Usually that's a very bad thing, and that's when they end up with massive suspensions because of that.
Well, and it's the same thing too. These players are like, I got beer dumped up. Don't jump in there then.
What do you expect?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're leaving the field of play for something where the fans are located.
Mhm.
So
If you purposely want to antagonize an opposing fan base, you got to suffer the consequences.
right. So I sympathize more with the fan. And again, the fan wasn't like you said, like this is he probably has no problem with Joe Mixon.
Well, I think he said he's like, I got him on my fantasy team.
Right.
I like
right. That's the thing. Well, and that's the thing with most. I genuinely believe with all of the what we call sports hatred and all the negative comments, I also firmly believe if all the people say stuff like that and boo and all that, they actually go up and talk to the players. 99% of the time, they'd all get along totally fine. There are a handful.
There's a handful. Now I will say,
serious.
Stephon Diggs did that. Then it's different, just because of first of all, him and Jair got into it. That was awesome to see in live person, by the way, because I just happened to look up and I just yelled fight, and Hudson's like, what? And,
Hudson's first football fight.
Yeah. So if it's somebody like Stephon Diggs who also has a Vikings background,
yes,
that's a little bit different.
He's got an attitude.
Because I think there is a little bit more hate there.
Yeah.
Or hate might not be the right word. A little bit more animosity.
Player reputation makes a big difference too.
Right.
Yeah. Diggs, Mixon's neutral, but if it had been an antagonizer of the Packers,
especially if it's like leading up to it where you've got this guy, not like an Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is a former Packer, but let's say it's somebody from the Vikings who's like, oh yeah, when I get there, I know I'm scoring. I'm jumping in the state, kind of leads up to it and then does that. You're getting shoved out.
I would not, if I were a Vikings running back, I would not Lambeau leap at Lambeau. Sorry, no, like I get it. Like I don't care if there's like a group of 4 Vikings fans and maybe it's safe there. And no. I look, I respect the game enough for Lambeau. You just don't do that. Okay, speaking of Lambeau history, so you were there. How much did the Packers lean in on the winter warning on a summery October day?
In terms of like
promotion marketing,
in terms of like Bill Jarts, the PA announcer,
blizzards are coming, and it's like
they didn't, which surprised me.
They didn't.
No,
that's what I figured was going to happen because I was looking at a little bit of like Instagram stuff before the game. I really wasn't seeing too much about it. I didn't hear too much about it.
But I will say that fans embraced it.
And with the white, which actually made a lot, I'm guessing that was a really smart move on a day like that.
Oh, yeah, it worked out for them, especially since the Texans wore black.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, but I was wondering if the Packers realized as the forecast is coming out, like, you know what? We were like, look, the winter warning thing. I know there's a ton of frozen tundra, but part of the reason we're ripping on this was because of the timing of it. And you wanted to wear white helmets because it's a fad. So you came up with a justification for it by calling it a winter warning. The white helmets were getting more of the attention. So once the weather was clearly not going to be winter, I figured, you know what? They're probably going to just sort of pretend it didn't happen and just embrace the whole white aspect. No, why don't, white cheddar. I heard Berman say that. I'm like, that's way better than winter warning in October.
I saw a lot of people taking cheese heads and painting them white.
Good. I see. Now that works.
Which then I got to thinking, I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't make any of those.
Yeah, like Packers, do that next year. Like, they're going to keep this helmet for at least the foreseeable future, maybe a few years.
Yeah.
Lean in on that. They don't have to worry about the weather, and that you're very Wisconsin-y. That's more clever. When like I said, with Berman on NFL Primetime, when Tucker Kraft caught the touchdown in the first part of the highlight, he starts talking about white cheddar. I'm like, duh, why didn't I think of that?
Makes more sense.
It totally does. Yeah. So what did you think of watching the Packers wearing white helmets?
Honestly, it was different, but it didn't bother me. Like, I feel like, and we had people texting yesterday saying how much they hate it, but in person, it didn't bother me. And you look at the stadium and you look at how many people were wearing it worked. I would say it was a success in terms of what Green Bay wanted to do to get fans to buy into it.
Okay.
Because it was white all over.
Okay.
It was white. And honestly, it didn't bother me. Yes, I don't want them to make it a permanent change. I love the green and yellow. I'm not saying it didn't bother me. It didn't bother. It's weird for me to see Packers wearing white at home because I'm so accustomed to that being the road jersey, you know. But it didn't bother me. I thought it was different. It was neat. So their giveaway though was scarves. Which it actually worked out because it wasn't like wool scarves. It was like a nylon. So what happened? People would douse them in water and they used them as headbands.
Hey, it kind of
so it worked that way too because that's what Hudson did.
They stumbled into something that worked with this that for what could have been very mocking, actually kind of
it ended up working.
Yeah, between minimizing the branding and then having an alternate use that was not intended. Hey, it was okay.
And I will say this too, like so. Because I was leading up to it weeks leading, I was, because if anybody goes to the Packer Pro Shop online, they do these things, and usually they have to put them on clearance because hardly anybody buys. But there are these acrylic game tickets, like like I'm looking at one. It says Packers Bears for coming up in January, but they had a table in the Pro Shop clearance ones for the Vikings game. It's just like a memorabilia thing. They had the tickets, and they do it for their like game coins for that. I'm like, okay, it's Hudson's first game. I'm going to get one of those. They were sold out before the game started.
Wow.
For this game only.
Wow.
The only thing left they had was magnets and pins.
Wow.
I don't know if it was because it was the winter promo thing or it was just this was a game so many first-timers were going to.
Maybe.
They took it off the website Wednesday because I was like looking at it just to make sure. I'm like, do I get online? No, I'll just get it at the Pro Shop because every other game, it's on clearance the week after. And they had the thing set up game day, all gone. Wow.
I guess we'll know for sure next year if however they promote it next year. And again, maybe they change it because I imagine they're going to take a different tack next year. Either they're going to keep with winter warning. They're going to wait till November, at least get the odds better, or not brand it, or just say we're all wearing white. Well, just run with that. And let's see what happens when they inevitably do it next year. Probably be a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Dovetail with when they wear white there. Honestly, I wasn't as bothered as I was expecting to be. I thought this was going to be like the worst thing I've ever seen. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad. I still don't think they should have done it, and I still think it's a blatant bandwagon jump, but
it sold a lot of stuff. That's what the end game is for this.
Yeah. Bingo. I know we usually do business with sports. Bingo. That's what it is. It's merch. And also it's what the players want. Have you noticed how many teams are going like all white outside of their helmets unless they can? And then they do that too. How many teams are wearing white socks, white pants, white jerseys? The whole icy white / clean look is huge with players right now.
Yep.
That's why the Packers did it. I'm sure that's what Jordan Love. I don't want to ascribe to his personal taste, but I'm sure that's what it is. It's a fad right now. That's not the worst thing in the world. Again, we're talking uniforms.
And it's white, which they already had within it, so it's not like it's something completely different.
Like black.
I was thinking black too. Yep.
And thank gosh the Packers have never done that. White makes more sense given that you see a lot of white with the team anyway. So all right, so it happened.
Yep.
Cool. We'll probably see it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it probably will. So yeah, it didn't bother me. And honestly, I'm not going to let it bother me either because if that's bothering me, then I've got other stuff going on. So you know,
or you care too much about uniforms like I do.
Right. It ended up being a really good game. It was a weird game, but it ended up being a really good game.
Well, and then the thing is, had they lost, like had the beginning of that game kept going and the Texans blown them out, then it would totally have been like a bad luck charm.
Mm-hmm.
Like never wear the white helmets again.
I will say, and I said this yesterday, and it could have been just where we were sitting. I would put that into probably top 3, top 5 loudest games I've ever been at.
Huh.
It was different in that aspect. Now, over the years, they've completely, a lot of it is on purpose. Bill Jarch, the PA announcer over there. I mean, he's doing more to get the crowd loud. They do the whole decibel thing now on the jumbotrons, like every stadium does now.
Yeah.
But they've done a whole. Every down. Like, okay, we did this whole last week stadium etiquette thing. What do you do?
Yeah.
Everybody who said sit down, you would have hated that game. And I'll tell you right now, I would have agreed with you. I wish more people would have sat down because I got a workout in trying to lift up Hudson so he could see the game. Okay. So you would have hated this game because it was like after the first drive, I'm like, oh, we're going to stand the whole time because that's where it was going. I think I stood 75% of the time of that game.
Wow.
But for some reason, this crowd was way into it. It was loud. I mean, Hudson had to cover his ears because it was that loud. I mean, I don't know what it was, but I know Green Bay's done more. Bill even goes on, the PA says, as soon as it gets a little bit loud on offense, quiet, please. Everybody, please be quiet. Like, scolding, be quiet. They've changed that too. So I know that's been a Matt LaFleur thing over the years.
Yeah.
But I will say that, and again, I don't know if it was just the positioning I was at. It was definitely one of the loudest games I've been at.
I wonder if there were more actual Packers fans, people holding onto their tickets because they were there was a curiosity factor to this game. I mean, I know they said like this is a fan favorite. What? I don't remember there being I know the social media reaction to them to the look was actually pretty favorable, but I'm not sure how many of those are Packers fans versus just whomever. But that makes me think that there's got to be some explanation besides it being the Texans, and I know they're really good, but it seems to be kind of out of nowhere. So the most obvious explanation is, well, they're promoting this winter warning. They're wearing white helmets, and that was the big thing. It was the white helmets, and everyone wear white. So if you have season tickets, you're more likely to be like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to that game.
Yeah,
that's not going to be a resell.
Yeah,
maybe that was it. It was something so different. Will that be the case 3 years from now when they're wearing white helmets? I don't know. During that one game, but that's it. That's fascinating. Interesting observation.
Yeah, I was really surprised, and I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna really have to lift him up and hold him or set him up on the bleachers or something, because and there were a couple people saying down in front, but it's like, okay, you could just see it, right?
Yeah.
It starts low. 2 people stand up, then the 2 people behind them have to stand up, then the next 2 people have to stand up. That's how it was. It was like dominoes, but reverse. Everything was standing up. It's like, dude, I'm going to stand up with my kid so he can see.
Yeah.
So shut up.
Right. Well, you've got it. You've got more of a reason. But yeah, you start doing the thing like you start looking over your shoulder, like, well, I'm going to miss the play, but is everyone behind me? Okay, good. I can stand up now too. Everyone starts like.
And I just realized this might be the first time in all the games I've been to Lambeau Field, and I'm not kidding you. I just realized this. No wave.
What?
No wave. Thank you. I just realized. I don't know why it just dawned on me. There was no wave.
Congratulations, Packers fans.
We
and
did
that
it.
is not snarky. Thank you.
We did it. No wave.
Good.
Oh, I don't know why. Probably because it didn't happen, so I didn't think about it.
That almost makes up for them doing white helmets for the Packer, the overall ambiance. If that eliminated the wave at a Packer game, you know what? There is hope for this country.
They did, unfortunately. At least it was pregame. They didn't do it in the game. They did one time, though, play, because apparently they got to do it every time. Rolling Stones Start Me Up.
Tradition unlike any other.
I just, that thing, every game I've been to, I think I've heard that song. Yep. Yeah. Yep. It was rough.
Oh, hey, come on.
That wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing was one of the Texans fans sitting right next to me. That dude needs to be checked.
Was he? Wait, he was like a boorish type?
No, he was a younger guy. I think he would have rather have been at a dance club though, because every song came up, he had this stupid. I think the kids do it where he just like rocks his body back and forth,
Mhm.
but tries to do a headbang. You know what I'm trying to talk
Yep,
about?
yep.
And how he eats a hot dog. This guy eats it from the top, not from the side. You know how you're supposed to? From the top. And then he wraps it up. And then he goes back 5 minutes later. And then he wraps it up. And then he goes back 5 minutes later. This guy was weird.
You know, hot dog eating approaches could make a whole segment here, and I'm wary of starting in on this because there are approaches to this. I'm not saying that he's right because that's interesting, but that could take 10 minutes, and I feel this could go on. So let's hold that for some other time.
He really felt. I felt like he would rather have been at a club dancing instead of being at a football game, and that was kind of annoying. Exactly. Yeah. If it was techno music like that, oh my God, he probably would have busted out some glow sticks and all that stuff.
Did you find out if he came up from Texas or is he?
I didn't talk to him.
Okay.
I didn't want to talk to him. I had no interest in talking.
How many Texans fans were there?
Well, it was weird. I mean, it was good. It ended up being we were well, I had sat and Hudson was actually sitting next to him. Those Texans fans were nice because they actually bought him a cheesehead. So they were good.
Cool.
They were cool, but
really cool.
Yeah. And then I noticed when he got up to go somewhere or something, and I'm like, it's an unopened can of Liney's he has there. So it just got warm, unopened the whole time. Like, what are you doing?
He must be from Texas.
There's something.
And that's not like he must have come up here from elsewhere. Because I was at a Texans Packers game, the kind of snowy one. Jordy Nelson had that touchdown in the north end zone.
The Brock Osweiler one. Yep.
Yeah. I don't really remember how many Texans fans I saw, but because it was wintry, I think that everyone's got winter coats and that kind of skews. You can't really tell. Whereas that game, it's really easy to tell.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that guy there's always one though, and that was that guy. I'm just like, dude, we're not Night at the Roxbury right now. It's God. Every song, it didn't matter if it was AC/DC or Flow Rider or whatever. It was like disco dance or whatever. Yeah.
Was he focused on the game or on a phone?
He was focused on the game. I'll give him that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he was. So
okay, at least there's that.
Yep.
If you're gonna be a weird fan, at least be still engaged with the game.
Yep. Okay. I will give him that. So.
Okay. Fun experience.
It was. So they still got, it's still a pain in the butt to get out of there, but I swear they change it every year. But
it's Green Bay. It's how it goes. It's just,
it was like, when I say it was a weird game, it was a weird game because I think it was probably because Green Bay did everything that they wanted to lose that game.
Yeah.
And they were like leading pretty much the whole time until the last minute 44. So it was a weird game. But yeah, I mean, even after the game, and I'm sure a lot of it was just the emotions of the walk-off kickoff, the Go Pack Go chants outside the concourse, it was one of the loudest ones I've ever been to, which really surprised me.
That's reinforcing my notion of people they saw the different nature of this game and they decided to hold their tickets.
Yeah,
I would
gotta
be it.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I can't really think of another explanation. There are enough nice days that they go to games, and yeah, it's got to be the reason.
I would agree with that.
I don't know that we're going to see that during the next big game is going to be Packers at Lions.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of Lions fans there, to be honest with you.
Which makes sense given how the proximity.
And we saw that last year, though, too.
Yeah, so
there was quite a bit.
That's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
And, of course, a lot of it, I mean, the way it ended, too, there was a lot of the kicking talk. So
yeah,
there was people in the parking lots with speakers giving their instant analysis on the kicking.
Yeah, and you saw that on social media, and that's what I saw. It was all, hey, the Packers actually had a success with the kicker. Like, yeah.
Well, and it was so we were positioned to where, really quick before we got to take a break, it's one of those positions that you can't tell if they made it or not. And I was directly, so like how I'm looking at you, like they were right in front. So like the second one, when the low snap hit the ground, I literally had a lump in my throat. I'm like, oh no, because I could see it perfectly. But then you got to wait for the reaction from the fans.
Yeah.
But even the first one, even when we were leaving, I had to double check with somebody. Like I texted a buddy. There was people saying, yeah, he missed the first one, but he got the second one. And I'm like, I thought he made the first one. And I'm like, okay. So I finally, because I had multiple people different groups saying he missed the first one. I'm like, but I thought he made it because everybody was cheering that he made it, and then it was timeout in that. So I don't know what the heck was going on.
It's tough to tell, given that like certain groups of fans can react really fast to like those, and then if you're looking sideways on the goalpost, you have no clue, and you're like, wait, but then the other fans are. But then is there a flag? And it gets weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's an effect that always happens in football.
Right.
It just depends on where you're sitting.
Yep. So
cool.
All right.
That was a good day for you guys.
It was. So, all right, let's take a quick break here. We'll be back with more NBA predictions, Bucks tip off tonight. Expectations for this Bucks team this year. Hit us up. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Buck season tips off tonight. Game 1 of 82. The path to go 82-0 begins tonight. Your Timberwolves cannot go 82-0 though.
They could go 0-82 though.
Yeah, they could.
History can be made.
Yep. Or 81-1. Yeah. That too.
But it could do, that's also a possibility. There's still a lot of things to do.
Mm-hmm. Your Timberwolves also too, by the way, Rudy Gobert, 3-year extension, $110 million.
Probably helps with the overall financial outlook long term. They made some good moves with between the Towns trade and now this Gobert move. I know at first blush you're like, oh boy, we're gonna have Gobert really old. yes, but it actually does help with the finances. So I think it's a net positive for how they're going to scheme to stay competitive.
Right. Let's so we got the Bucks tonight tipping off against Philadelphia. Philadelphia, no Joel Embiid and no Paul George. Bucks, no Chris Middleton.
So the usual, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Giannis and Dame. I mean, all offseason we've heard about Dame talking about, he's going to be more comfortable, putting in a lot of work in the offseason and such. It's an full offseason with Doc Rivers. With them, he also brings back Darvin Ham, who I know a lot of the Bucks players. I still believe Darvin Ham might be the head coach of this team. If he's still on that staff when Mike Budenholzer gets fired, and they decided to. I think Darvin Ham would have gotten the job, to be honest with you, if he was still around, because of the amount of respect apparently the players and how much they love the guy. So if he was still around instead of taking the Lakers head coaching job, I think he'd be the head coach.
Think Coach Bud's going to be coach of the year?
He's getting some picks.
I've been seeing that.
Yeah. So what should the expectations, or what are your expectations for this Bucks team this year? I think it's pretty simple. It's still championship or bust, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty darn simple.
Especially with all of the Giannis talk. And again, presuming that a lot of it is legit, then yes, you got to win it, or at least come close enough where the team had done everything possible and did everything right, and it's just a matter of the other team was way better.
All right, so say they finish 5th seed, first round exit. Everybody's healthy. You can't use the injury excuse. Is it time to blow it up?
I might say, now, by blow it up, you mean blow it up around Giannis, or blow it up as in?
I think you might have to blow it up around Giannis. Let's go that way.
It's going to be tough,
even though you might annoy him or make him mad.
Yeah, because they've done this weird thing of have this really old veteran-laden team and then draft projects. There's no middle ground,
and their projects they're like impatient with.
Yeah,
they don't give them any opportunities.
Yeah, that's where I'm still a little confused about how well the Bucks are doing, and maybe that's why Giannis keeps hinting at stuff not going right, because I don't know that the Bucks have made the best possible moves. Well, historically, under the Horst era,
it's different, isn't it? Like John Hammond seemed like he was a good drafter. Horst is more of the free agent trade guy.
Yeah,
not a drafter guy.
Right. And he has brought in some good ones, but the drafts have been meh. So I think if all goes as well as possible, but they lose and they're clearly outplayed by a 4 seed or something like that, there's part of me that wants to say that they may go a little bigger and they may do a genuine blow up. Do they actually ponder trading Giannis Antetokounmpo at that point? Because unless you're like, we're going to let Lopez go, find some way to get out of some other contracts and take it. Well, that would probably require getting rid of John Horst. Actually, that might be the answer. Horst is gone. I don't think they try anything else, because you're making some changes here, some changes there, so you can once again be maybe a fourth or fifth seed and lose in 2026 in the first round. Cool. How much better are you? I think Horst is gone if they're healthy and they lose in the first round. That would be like the final we're appeasing Giannis move.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, then I think it could be towards the end of the 2026 season if they brought in a new guy. Nothing's really changed. And that's where, because wait, how long is Giannis's contract until, again, remind me, is it 28 or something?
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
Okay. But if they're still stalling over 2 years, honestly, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo forces his way out. I think it's coming.
So he's got a player option for 27-28.
Okay. So he'd basically be leaving with 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, the deadline for that is June 29th of 27.
Yeah. Now, we're also probably about to start seeing the physical decline of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Given his age, given his size, we got to be ready for this. It's going to start. It could be any season now. It may not be for 5, may not be for 7. Maybe the unicorn thing really applies, and
we've been kind of waiting for that for LeBron though too, and he hasn't really.
Yeah, so maybe he holds on. There are going to be certain aspects of his game that are going to be tough to recreate in his late 30s. Like, is he still Euro stepping at that point? Right. Probably not.
Or is he going to go old school power forward and just back it down and little jump hooks?
How much does he change his game? I do trust that he's the type to be like, I'm going to make myself the best I can with the body that I now have. But that means he may not be as effective as he used to be. Maybe he's just a really good player as opposed to Giannis the unicorn, maybe the best in the league at any given moment. So yeah, I think that's what they end up doing. I don't know that they blow up that. Like, they probably do kind of what you thought probably does end up happening. They blow up who's around Giannis, but I think there will be new management if this season ends the way that it honestly probably will end. I think we may be going into the last year of John Horst as general manager, barring a really good playoff run.
Biggest question mark surrounding this team, besides health,
besides Giannis asking how and when does that happen? Probably. Do they find a way to be successful in the postseason? And I'm getting way ahead for something that we may only see for 4 games in the worst case scenario. But how do you build a team that's not a regular season team? It's under Coach Bud. It was under Griffin/Rivers last year. Do they develop a team that can go that is durable in the postseason, is healthy in the postseason? So it kind of does tie back to the health thing. But that's the biggest thing. They've had so much playoff underwhelming performance, so many underwhelming performances in the playoffs. That's my biggest overarching question. I guess the more acute question might be, can Dame Lillard be still what we used to think of him?
Yeah, I think my biggest question is still the question we had at the end of last year is transition defense. You got an older team. And you got defensive, that's still a big question mark. And I know last year they were trying to transition into what Griffin wanted to do and what Doc Rivers wanted to do and such. But with that older team, if you go up against teams that want to run up and down the court, Indiana, the main thing is like that mid-range game better be working with Brook, with Giannis, if Middleton's out there, because you can't get those easy buckets, or if Giannis is driving to the lane and he's not, and that's not going in, that's a recipe for disaster for a team that can't play transition defense. Or that's where and the other part that's going to kind of worry me a little bit too is we'll go back to 3-point shooting. Are they just going to up and chuck a lot of 3-pointers because it's easier to get back on transition D that way too?
Yeah.
Defense for me is my biggest concern with this veteran group. And you look at last year, that was a question with Brook Lopez, right? Is he a good fit for this team? Because of, you look at the centers in this game. Brook Lopez is a guy, he's a great rim protector. But if you go up against a team that doesn't have a center that plays down low and can stretch it outside, that's a weakness.
Indiana's still going to be a threat this year.
Indiana might just be like that. They may not be an NBA Final seed, but they may be a threat to a team like the Bucks.
They're kind of turning into what the Heat were for the Bucks a few years ago.
Right.
And I could very easily see a 4-5 or 3-6 matchup involving the Pacers and the Bucks once again. And then, okay, cool. Let's wait till next season.
Right. There are certain teams that will just give other teams fits and troubles.
So this is a bit of a hotter take. Should the Bucks trade Brook Lopez to try to get a player who's better at defending against these faster moving teams?
I thought they were going to do it in the offseason. So I don't think they're going to if they didn't do it in the offseason. I thought they were going to. I thought he was gone. But then you heard, again, Giannis talk about shortly after the season saying Brook's coming back, and I think, okay, when Giannis says, hey, so-and-so's coming back, I guess so-and-so's coming back then if Giannis is saying it.
Yeah. He's so integral to the chemistry of the team and so well-liked. And that would dramatically change the Bucks mid-season. With Lopez, and then we're talking trading for an unknown. Lopez for someone else Is that a bigger in-season move, honestly, than Griffin to Rivers last season?
I don't think it's a bigger one. I don't actually.
I guess it
Because
depends
you're
on.
changing head coach. At that time, remember, $2 were what, 1 or 2 seed?
Yeah, they were actually doing better than they did under Rivers.
Yeah.
Which I know there are extenuating circumstances. I think that was part of it too. I sound like a.
We could kind of just remember. I just remember we could tell there was just something off yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily clicking.
That was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The record didn't necessarily indicate that.
Yeah.
But I that's why I'm wary of a Lopez move, because boy, you might be changing a lot of aspects of your team.
Well, you'd be
mid-season.
Probably
if they were to trade
off
Lopez,
your number one player. So there you go.
And that too. Yeah. Who are you bringing in? There's a lot of things. Be careful. But the other part of this might be what you're basically resigning to not making the finals this year potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is not an NBA Finals winning team right now unless everything works.
Right.
Perfect health.
I almost feel like this might not be the greatest comparison. I almost feel like for them to win it all, it'd almost be like when the Warriors just won it a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
A veteran team, an aging team, still talented, but I don't think a lot of people had them. You know what it was just a couple of years ago, that last championship.
Yep, the 2022 championship.
Right. You know, everybody's up there in age and that. It almost feels like the Bucks would have to be like that.
And Giannis would have to go on a tear. Like he takes, like a 2021 postseason, takes over the playoffs.
Right. Yep.
And remember, you had to have a lot of breaks. You had to, I know it's a bit of, it sounds like I'm putting an asterisk and I'm not, but the reality is there were a lot of injuries that year. But also Giannis took over that postseason.
Yep.
If he does something like that, maybe it doesn't matter if there are other injuries. Maybe that's enough. But I still think they need to do some modifications around this team during the year.
All right. You ready to do some picks and predicts?
Yes.
First of all, we got a text here. Trent says, first of all, don't call me Daniel. Just heard you say you can't stand hearing Start Me Up by the Stones, one of the best bands of all time. Come on. What would you rather play? Britney Spears? Wrong person to ask. Yes, I'd rather play Britney Spears.
Wow.
Little Baby One More Time. A little Sometimes. A little Crazy. Put Up Stronger with the music video. Get everybody pumped up.
Stronger. That's a wow. That's
right?
a little bit of a deep dive, and I know that was a hit, but
not Lucky. Not Lucky.
No,
not that one.
Not a fan of Lucky.
No.
She's so lucky.
Yeah, no, we don't need to go there. You don't bring in one of my first celebrity crushes, little preteen Dan there. So yeah, of course it's going to be Britney Spears. I mean, come on, I had the poster.
Look, you drive me crazy. Still bangs after all these years.
Hormonal Dan and his teenage had the Britney Spears poster up. So yeah, not the greatest name comparison. No. I got nothing against the Stones. I'm just tight. They got to switch up. You know, flip the cassette over to the other side. Play some other songs, not the same one all the time. Just there's better options.
They still playing the Kevin Rudolph Let It Rock.
At least they don't do that one. They did that. Oh, that's like 2010.
I remember 08 around
all
that
the
time
over there.
I still every time I hear that song, I think of Lambo.
That and the Flow Rider song. Which one?
Oh,
I can. I'm humming it in my head right now.
Come on,
Club Can't Handle Me right now. That one.
Yeah,
that one.
Wow,
that was that same time frame. Yeah. Don't mess with my girl.
This is the G-Force era. They made some questionable choices in their marketing.
So. I will say Britney's weird now, but back then, no.
Oh yeah.
TRL, come on. Middle school Dan would submit stuff on TRL to try to get attention to the girlfriends back then too. So I told you that story one time.
Yes.
I think that's when Sometimes was like topping the charts there. All right. Anyways, we don't need to go down that 2000, 1999, whatever age. I'm just saying, if we ever had the need for a 90s themed radio show called Win Pants and Portable CD Players, I would be the host for that one.
Yeah.
My era. Jam it out, baby. Booyah. Oh, yeah. All that in a bag of chips.
Oh, wow. That's very mid-90s. My gosh. Well, and then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was middle school slow dancing right there at our fun nights.
Oh, yeah. Old school Britney. Yes. I was in college at that point. That was
See, no, this was middle school for me.
Yeah,
so,
see, for me, like there was one of my classmates who on my cluster and one of the dorms had like a Britney picture up. I'm like, do you know how old she is? And granted, it's like a 3 year. That's still like no, stop.
We'll say I'm not gonna say names here, but when I was in college, when I was in college, I will just say somebody I knew. I'm not gonna try to give any hits.
So this is mid-aughts.
I graduated college in 09. So
okay, so mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, it's about 07.
Context.
Somebody had crush on Miley.
Okay. Okay.
And we argued about her age. And I'm like, dude, not 18. Yes, she is. Dude, not 18. So first website they Google, a countdown to her 18th birthday.
You realize how much of that happened with Britney Spears?
Yes, but I was also, she's older than
but
me,
I can tell you that was happening with, I'm not
yeah.
saying that was happening with like my folks, but I know that was a thing.
So as a prank, I actually bought him a color by number poster of Miley, and he colored it. So that's what he did in college right there.
College kids are horrible.
I miss college. I miss it. Okay. Let's do some.
Let's take a break while we're still.
We only got a few minutes. We got to do some picks right now.
Please.
So let's do some NBA games, shall we? That's pretty much the only thing besides hockey on the schedule. Yeah. Let's go. I'm not going to do every. Let's do Orlando at Miami, the Battle of Florida.
Yes. I think the Heat win their first one.
Speaking of 90s, Dan, we're going Orlando Magic.
Yes.
Cleveland at Toronto.
I think the Cavs.
I'm going to go Cavs as well. We will do Memphis at Utah.
I'm going to go
Will
Grizz.
Ja Morant stay out of trouble this year?
Please. Grizz, I'll take on this one.
We'll go Grizzlies too. Phoenix at the Clippers.
At the first official home game at Intuit Dome.
I saw some of the clips. Was it a 60 Minutes thing?
Yeah.
I saw some of the clips.
I think it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will take the... You know what? I'll take the Clippers in this one. I don't know that they're going to be that great this year, but I'll take the Clippers to win the first game.
I'm going to go Phoenix. Coach Budenholzer's path to Coach of the Year will be his third one on his third different team, too.
Well, he is an NBA champion.
Well, he won Coach of the Year in Atlanta, and he won it for the Bucks.
That's true.
Coach of the Year means nothing in the NBA.
You can't take that away from him.
Let's go Chicago at New Orleans.
I'll take the Pels.
Yeah,
does anyone
Pelicans.
say? Yeah, they do.
Does anybody talk about Zion Williamson anymore?
Gosh, that's gone quiet. Given how good the Pelicans have become, he's become like, he's part of the team.
Yep. Milwaukee at Philly.
Ooh.
Milwaukee is favored by 3.5.
Battle of the banged up teams. Sixers, barely.
Oh, stop. It's the Bucks tonight. Who are the Sixers playing? Maxey?
Yeah, that's true. It. Okay, sorry. I changed my mind. Changed the pick. Bucks.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
I knew that, but then I had to think about that. I'm like, yeah, wait, who else do they really have?
I mean, Maxey might score 50-some points. They might need him to do that tonight, but yeah. I know, yeah. Or they still got Eric Gordon on the bench too, I think, too. But yeah, no, it's Bucks will win it tonight.
I'll take the Bucks. Okay, yeah.
And Doc Rivers returned to Philly.
Return. Oh gosh. He's gonna be booed though.
Yeah, because it's Philly.
It's Philly. It just happens there.
Yep. So all right. Then Eastern Conference Finals pick, Western Conference Finals pick. Matchups.
Celtics over Knicks in the East.
Oh, way to go outside the box.
I know. But the NBA is the most predictable of these. So I think that's what ends up happening there. In the West, though, OKC over. I almost want to say the Warriors going like one last run. Kings.
What? Okay.
I know. Well, now that's
now
where
okay. So you go all chalk East, way outside the box for West,
because we're gonna have another mob of like 2 to 7 are all gonna have like the same record, and some team's gonna get a little bit hot. I think Dallas and Minnesota regress a little bit. I don't know that Denver quite gets everything put together. It's not gonna be the Lakers. Sorry. Suns, I still think there's a ceiling on them. They're not going to be healthy enough. And so that you're going to have it's kind of like what Indiana did last year in the East. So it'll be the Kings, but I think it'll be an OKC Boston.
Really quick for my champions, quick, really quick.
Celtics.
Celtics over
the Thunder.
Thunder. Okay.
Close. Though.
My Eastern Conference, Boston over Milwaukee. Knicks will be like a 4-5 because the Tom Thibodeau curse will happen this year.
Ooh.
So Boston over Milwaukee. I'm going to go Pelicans over the Nuggets.
Ooh.
And then, not Pelicans. I'm sorry. Thunder over Nuggets.
Okay,
Thunder over Nuggets.
Okay.
Thunder win it all.
Okay. All right.
And they got a boatload of first-round picks yet for the next 20 years.
They're going to be around for a while.
Yep. That's your picks and predicts. Elbow Room. Have a good day. We'll see you. Talk to you tomorrow morning.